This is Julian AGUAYO's and Joshua ZATARAIN's project on pure capitalism. The three categories we are using are personal wealth, division of classes, and monopolies. So this is the train station at the pure capitalistic city. Pure capitalism is very different than modern version of capitalism, like our capitalism. Pure capitalism doesn't follow many restrictions like today. Pure capitalism doesn't have any laws restricting monopolies. You could essentially put whatever price you wanted on any item you were selling. Many unethical ways of putting competitors out of business were considered okay that are not okay today. With pure capitalism, a single person can acquire unimaginable amounts of wealth. There are downsides to pure capitalism, however. The slums. Here in the outer ring of New York, it looks like the apartment complex is owned by Rockefeller. Here you can see steam coming out of the streets, and in here a family of maybe 8 to 6 would live in here for months until they would all die of possibly sickness. And if you saw, there was graffiti on every walls, and here there are guards everywhere. Here we get to the more industrialized sections of the city. Notice how they are not really close to the poor citizens' houses. They are heavily guarded. Here that we can also see also owned by Rockefeller. Here you can see the workers work in terrible conditions. Workers are stuck together. Some children can be seen working alongside the adults. Thanks to electricity, there is light in the factories, although it's very little. As you can see here, the manager is in a sense abusing the workers, not really caring for their health or just their health in general. As it was back then, they just cared about them for producing their goods and making them money. Lots of smoke and smog is produced by the factories, but that's fine. These factories, however, are how Rockefeller made money. Capitalism has little concern for the environment. For example, business owners like Rockefeller didn't really care about the environment. They only cared about profiting for their business and expanding their business. Here we see one of Rockefeller's many mansions. There are clear signs of capitalism, as people are able to save up their own money and buy their own property that they don't have to share. What's yours is yours. Banks are also a sign of capitalism, as you can have a private bank not tied to the government or state. You could even form your own bank like Rockefeller. Here inside we can see he has amassed a small part of his wealth in a vault here. You would never see this in communism unless you were a corrupted official or dictator. The fact that you can have your own personal belongings is pretty gay. Here are the oil derricks. Here to the left we have oil derricks owned by the Rockefeller Foundation, and to the right we have the Brand Oil Company. Rockefeller was able to establish a monopoly, allowing to virtually control the entire oil industry, making it very hard for his competitors to compete. The simple fact is that he gained a monopoly shows pure capitalism, as modern capitalism has specific laws in place not allowing for the creation of monopolies. For example, Rockefeller would go to different cities, and if they didn't want to let him buy the oil, he would sell his oil half the price, running out both the company. He was another example of pure capitalism, as he is trying new things out by creating a new restaurant, and maybe he will even try to expand it and control all restaurants. Now, another sign of or another example of capitalism is like this railroad. I'm pretty sure he had railroads to all his cities, because we feel like if you did not have a railroad to your city, you would not survive financially, because you would not be able to get resources or just have people there for labor, and in general just have capital goods to build your company up and just explode in wealth. The most eye-catching aspect of capitalism is how a person can become absurdly wealthy. Rockefeller was one example, as he was an oil tycoon and an oil monopoly owner who lived in the 1800s. Such wealth is usually immortalized, and the Rockefeller is very well through many monuments and organizations. One of the most notable, however, is the Rockefeller Tower. This breathtaking moment, built by yours truly, which took many hours, showcases some of the highest potential capitalism has to offer. It shows a collection of vast wealth. It shows how it can all belong to one person, and it shows innovation through sheer engineering that went into such a building. For an example, this building was created back in the 1920s, when steel was first being used to create mass buildings like this. And for yours truly, building this really took a long time, and I could not imagine how, with the technology they had back in these days, how long it would take to create this. So big props to them, and big props to Rockefeller for, well, having the money to do it. All in all, capitalism has some pros and cons. Cons: lower class has very poor living conditions, terrible housing, terrible wages, along with terrible working conditions. Pros: the opportunity to earn lots of wealth. It also inspires innovation. For example, the train and the huge Rockefeller Center. Accumulation of private wealth that is yours is yours. Inspires competition between businesses, which can lead to benefits to consumers, which includes things like just overall more creation in products, consumers being more happy, and demand, which would rise the prices of things, bettering the economy. Thank you, and this was a presentation by Joshua and Julian AGUAYO on pure capitalism.